Come, all you moonshiners, if you want to hear about the kind of booze that they serve around here.
Not often you're going to see a video that starts at the end. Want to know how we got there? You want to know what we did? The purpose? Stay tuned. And for all of you out there who are just, you comment, YouTube has a new addition. Yes, there's a small icon that lets me know if you comment whether you're a subscriber or not. If you're going to comment, please subscribe. Cost you nothing. Simple. You want to do it, don't you? Click. And a shout out to Chuck. You don't know, do you? Thanks, Chuck, for all your support over the years. Welcome back to Barley and Hops. I'm George. Again, as always, good to be here with you. You know, subscribe, just like it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, all that stuff. You got that. Thank you so much for all you do, and thank you for your support. Now, today's video is on mixing, cutting, finishing, aging. We're going to do some real fun stuff. And I'm going to show you just how easy it is and how simple it is, okay? So, bear with us as I get all of this stuff. I got a bunch. You notice I got a bunch of stuff out here, okay? And just as for explanation, I've got 6 quarts of some really. That's the stuff we ran off of that reflux still. And I've got another almost 3 quarts in this gallon jug because I ran out of quart jars at that time, and I've got a bunch of half-gallon quart jars, half-gallon mason jars that we're going to use for our aging process. So I need to show you that as well. And I've got my Texas spring water. I'm going to use spring water instead of distilled water. Now, will distilled water work? Absolutely. Will spring water work? Absolutely. And I'm going to use the Texas spring water because it's just what was available at a reasonable cost. So I got 3 gallons of that, so I got quite a bit to go through. And I'm going to get a bunch of this off of the table so that it's not in our way. I've got a bag of medium toasted oak chips. Got my glycerin. That's not a secret ingredient. That's just an ingredient. A lot of people won't tell you about the use of glycerin. Of course, my flask and my proof and trail hydrometer. Again, if you own one, danger. It'll roll off the table and break. If you own 2, you'll have 2 forever. For some reason, that's just the way it works. Let me get set up here and I'll be right back, and what we'll do is we'll have enough to sit here and work with and talk about. All right now. See, now we're down to exactly what we need. I'll get started, and you're going to be amazed at just how simple this process really can be. Now, you can use just a test cylinder and your proof and trail hydrometer. Of course, we have an app for that. And for some of you who are having challenges accessing this app, I have found that I was able to, in some cases, just have your phone number and send it directly to your phone, and that seemed to work out extremely well. We also did a video on how to access those. Remember, these are absolutely free. They're free to upload, free to develop, and free to share. So you won't find this at your app Play Store. There's no money in it for us or anybody else, so there's no reason for them to carry it. Make sense? Okay, now here's what I have. I'm going to make, and I put this in, I want to make 2 quarts. My final proof, I want it to be 80 proof, so I got that selected. My starting proof, remember this was 185, I just put it 180, it gives me a good starting point. And no, what the heck, I'll just make it 185. There we go, 185. Now, what this tells me is, it says at the bottom, it says add 0.86 quarts to this, and then add 1.14 quarts to this, and my result should be 80 proof. That's what my app will tell me. This is a really good tool to use if you're trying to develop. You're looking at, okay, how much of this do I need? How much of that do I need? Where do I need to put all this stuff to make it happen? So that's as simple as it can get. Otherwise, you're forced to do the following, and that is And remember, when you get a mason jar, yep, smell the inside of it. Some of them are shipped with I'm not going to call it a gas, but what they do is there's a preservative that they spray inside, and you can smell those, so you need to wash them out. And here we go. This says pour 0.86 quarts. This is 1 quart, so I'm going to pour almost all of that in there. Yeah, let's leave that much. Oh, it's just, that's wonderful. Oh. What I need now is I need to be able to come up with 1.14 quarts. I don't want to use the side of the jar. I want to try to use something graduated, at least in general, to get me there. Because remember, I want to leave room in here for these. That's what we're going to make. We're going to make, this is going to be a crisp bourbon. And I call it a crisp bourbon because it doesn't have the body and the profile of a grain, because remember, this was a modified sugar wash. And this makes that really nice, delectable, light-bodied bourbon that most people like. Some people like that real strong. You know, you want the Jack Daniels, where you've got that body of character and that flavor profile that carries. Well, this one will be lighter than that. Nothing will be absent, but it will be lighter than that, which makes it a really good all-around bourbon. So let me give myself another jar. Before I add any water, I want to verify what my proof is. So I'll take what is left in the jar that I didn't pour into my half-gallon mason jar, and I'm going to pour that into one of my test cylinder. And yes, it's pretty chilly out here in Texas right now, so this is near 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Drop in my hydrometer, give it a little bit of a whirl, and let it, by golly, 180 proof. So remember, we put in 185. What happens if, all I got to do is change that. So if I put in 180, and it's just a slide bar on here that you use. You just use your finger to slide the bar left and right. Fat finger there. There we go. There it is. I need 1.11 quarts and 0.89 quarts. So, yeah. So let me pour this back into here. And I need 1.11 quarts of water. Now, you could get away with using tap water, but you just got to make sure that your tap water is really clean. It's been filtered, and it doesn't have a lot of those minerals. Look at your water report. You'll find out. You've got your parts per million of all of those things that make tap water safe, but not necessarily as tasty as like a spring water or a distilled water. And a distilled water is just a process of really removing just about anything and everything out of that. They also sell a product called alkaline water. And what do you think that is? That's, you know, on the pH scale, 7 is neutral. So you're looking at a water that has a higher alkaline base to it, as opposed to having a lower pH, which would make it acidic. Okay. Whoops. Now that wasn't smart. The wrong size lid went straight to the bottom. So we're going to have to fish that out, and we'll fish that out by using another half-gallon jug. Mistakes happen. Well, this is, guess what? This just turned out, what I was going to do was put the lid on and just kind of give it a shake and mix it up. That's not necessary any longer. Come out of there. I feel like an idiot, but stuff happens. Now, when you do that, you see the haze that I have in here? What is that? Oh, from pouring it in there, I drag a lot of oxygen with me. So, and look at all the bubbles, they just dissipate. They'll work their way out. But once they do, you see this one's taking just a little bit of time. I can still see just tiny, tiny bubbles that are now gone. Okay, look at this jar, and we can, first of all, before we even test it, we can assume we're just about at 80 proof. Okay, I've only put 1 quart in. I've got to put a little bit more in, so we're probably in the 80, 90 proof. Now, if you pour your water to cut your shine into the jar, and you look at it, you go, wow, it's cloudy. Where did that cloudiness come from? I'm here to tell you, and there's no other explanation. When you ran your still, you got tails. Okay? You may not have smelled them or tasted them, but you've got enough tails in your shine that when you added water to it, when in a high alcohol content liquid form, your fusel oils are going to be invisible because they just kind of spread out all over the place. They have nothing in which to really attach to. Okay? When you increase, and here you got your water here, when you increase your water and you dilute that alcohol, or we can do it the other way, and you dilute that alcohol, but whatever the case may be, when they start to get close together, what will happen is now you have enough water in there for those fusel oil, it's oil, those oils to become visible. What they'll do is they'll start to partner up with all of those water molecules, and then they become long chain, and all of a sudden you can see them. So your shine turns out to be cloudy. Now, I don't care what it tastes like. I'm just here to tell you that if it turns cloudy, you've got tails. What can you do? You can do one or two things. You can live with it, or you can rerun it. Just toss it back into the next run and run it again, and run it judiciously. Be slow. Your process, and you'll draw out ethanol, and you will not draw out your tails. Now, having said that, let's do this. Because we're here at this point, and what have I got? I got a quart, and I got 0.89 quarts. I'm going to pour this in here, because what I want to do is I want to test it. Oh, yes, don't go, yeah. Whew. And I want to find out what the proof is at this point. A little bit too much in there. It's not good for us. There we go. Yeah, I still got I got some oxygen bubbles that are going to dissipate right out of my test cylinder. You'll see that. That's happening. So don't let that scare you. I wouldn't call that cloudy. I just call that misty, because you can actually see these itty bitty tiny bubbles migrating their way up to the very top. Okay. And if we drop our hydrometer in there, I am now reading, you'll notice how high that is. I'm now reading, yep, what do you think? What if I told you it was 90 proof? If you guessed 90 proof, you'd be right. Because remember, based on our calculator, we still need to put in, what, 0.11 quarts of water in order to bring that down. So let us do that. Now see, this is where sometimes the dance goes back and forth, you know, and it depends on how critically accurate you want to be. I'll pour a little bit of water in there. I'm going to guess what my 0.11 is going to look like. Yeah, okay. And then once I add that to this, let's see if I do it right this time. Get the correct lid. Just give it a turn up. That's it. All we want to do is make sure that we get a full, complete mix. Ha, there we are. And then, of course, transfer some of that back here. Now, you can get good at this after a while. You sort of have this idea, you know when you've got enough. You know, you'll know how much you need in order to move it, how many points. And that just comes from practice. Until then, use a calculator. Now, yeah, there's all our oxygen dissipating again. This time we float our hydrometer and we are, well, look at that. Boom, right on it. 40%, 80 proof. So we now know that we have exactly what it is we want in this half-gallon jug or mason jar. Now my next step, and I do this routinely. You can skip it if you want to. I already know, based on tasting this, that I don't have an issue with it, but I want to make sure that I maintain that smoothness on the back palate. I'm going to use an ounce because the dosage is 2 ounces per gallon. This is a half a gallon. I'm going to use 1 ounce of glycerin, and this is marked on the side. I'm at, there we go, 1 ounce. Oh, you need to see this. And you can see it. You should be able to see it from, let's do a zoom in. Let's zoom in and look at this. Now, here we are. You can see how clear this is. There's my hand in the back, so you can see right through it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some glycerin, and I'm going to add 1 ounce of glycerin, but I want you to watch what this does when it goes in. If you watch carefully, you'll see it start to mix itself. You see how it drops? And then when it hits the bottom, it'll spread out. See, just a little bit more. Okay, that's enough. Yep, that's 1 ounce. Now, and you'll see it immediately dissipate in the bottom of the jar. So now I've got sort of like a heavy layer down here that all I've got to do is rotate, and it will mix. Well, there it is. Yeah, it will mix with all of that ethanol and become one uniform mixture. There we go. Draw that off, and you see it's still clear, crystal clear. So that's how we add the glycerin. And once the glycerin is added, let me come back up. Now the glycerin is added. So you can still see right through it. It's still crystal clear, which is the way yours should look. Oh. What a wonderful aroma. Now I have a small scale that I purchased a long time ago. This thing really comes in handy when you're measuring small amounts. And I'm going to place this on here. 0 tar, and then units. I want to go to ounces, because what I want to do is I want to add. Now I've told you this before. I know kind of basically by handfuls how much it is, but let's measure it. It takes about 2 ounces per gallon is a good start, and then after that, it all depends on your flavor profile and what you want from your visual acuity. What it looks like to you. So I'm going to add 1 ounce, and you'll notice that's quite a few oak chips, believe it or not. There, about that many. And I'll drop those in there. Now, this is just the George, okay? Your average dose is about 2 ounces per gallon. I want to try to do this. I'll leave this one alone. What I was going to tell you was I wanted to do this in about a 3-day period. So if you want to do it in about a 3-day period, put an extra ounce in. So, what the hell? Let's put an extra ounce in there. Because my goal is that once I've got this where I want it to be, and if I finished it in about 3 or 4 days, what I want to do is I want to transfer this into a barrel. You'll see I've got a couple of barrels sitting back there for some laser etching for later on. So, now is there a point of no return with this? Yeah, there's a point of ludicrousy. Yeah, if you put a pound in there, you're gonna have a hard time sucking that alcohol through all that wood. But let your conscience be your guide. It's not that critical. Okay, place the lid on, and of course, we all know, shake it up. Now I'm gonna allow that to set for several hours, and when we come back, I'll show you what the results are after just a few hours, and then we'll move on from there. It's been 1 hour. I wanted to share this with you. Okay, this is a test jar, as in I didn't do anything with it, so you'll see how clear that one still is. I have 2 ounces in here, so you can see the difference in color 1 hour has made. I've got 2 ounces in here, 2 ounces in here, and I'll put 1 ounce, 1 ounce, and 1 ounce, and these are my other test jars. So you can sort of like do a comparison between 2 ounces versus 1 ounce over 1 hour. And you'll see there's a noticeable difference. Now, like I always say, you know, when you walk by, what do you always want to do? Yeah, you can't help it. You just shake it, get it all shook up, and it looks like that for a little while. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. So you just let that go. Now, we'll come back in 1 more hour, and I'll show you the graduated difference again over 1 hour. You can compare those. Now, also, just a shout out, Mark, who has helped me tremendously. And Mark, thank you, from Cryptoponics. It helped me tremendously through programming, through a lot of scientific approaches that we take to some of our processes. He's validated a lot of information, has shared a lot of wonderful ideas. I've got him now, he's a moderator for the YouTube channel, so you may have Mark, my resident expert as well, share some insight or comment on some of your comments, and I do appreciate that because it does relieve a lot of the pressures of trying to get to every one of them all the time. Stand by, we'll see you in about an hour. It's been 2 hours. And what more can I offer? I'm going to allow this to sit for, probably a week maybe, or 2, until I get it to where I like it, before I start to transfer that into my barrels for a little bit of long-term aging. But not necessary. You may like it the way it is. Happy distilling.